is going to be these are going to be your directions for the first 5 questions today. Please make sure that you've subscribed to this channel, otherwise you'd not be able to join me in the chat. Hi Nishant, Sonali, Pratyush, Prakhar, fabulous to see you guys here. So as usual, we just center ourselves, take a deep breath and start focusing on the screen. कितनी आयरनी है ना, पहले बोला करते थे फोन से दूर रहो दूर रहो दूर रहो, पर अभी वही हमारा क्लासरूम बन चुका है. Hi Shri. So ready for the first passage? We are going to work on 2 really high quality passages today. So mentally stay in that zone where you're focusing really very hard. तो उसका थोड़ा focus पे काम कीजिएगा, and in case you happen to have any question, please share. Okay, so let's start. Here is the passage on your screen, the first paragraph. I'll take you through every passage paragraph by paragraph. Let's see. The moment you are done reading the passage, drop in a done in the comment box and I'll take you to the next paragraph. Okay, I am assuming that by now we must have read these. So here is the next paragraph. Okay, taking you to the next one again. Here is the next. Sri, emigre is emigrants, people who have left their home country and went on to some other country. Expatriates or expat will be a synonym. Okay. Done? So here is the first question on your screen. Akash, I don't even know what some of these symbols mean. So I know the dab, but what is the one in grey? No idea यार. क्या छोटा सा puppy दिख रहा है, whale दिख रहा है, cat दिख रही है, भाई पता नहीं. So Nadi, elitism means no elites in a society, upper class, rich people. So there are some certain behaviors that are associated with them. That's called elitism. Okay, so Nishant has shared his answer rather quickly. One of the reasons for Adorno to criticize Stravinsky's Rite of Spring was that. Now, if you use the seeker and go back to the first paragraph, you will find this mention there. And this is something that has been explicitly stated. Let me take you back to the right part. Here you go. So, Rite of Spring. So, this is what he thought. Uproar of culture against its own essence as culture. So, look at the preface. Adorno saw warning signs of a collapse in European culture. And he's basically used Rite of Spring as an illustrative example. So, enticement precisely in its opposition to civilization. The ballet's flirtation with barbarism was not merely musical, it reflected social facts. Which social fact? A collapse in European culture. Right. So now that we have read this particular part, let's have a look at A. Can I say A? It was filled with risk, patterns of behavior. What do you understand by this word risk? Risk means something which is indecent, vulgar, which has sexual overtones, something that is going to shock people because of its vulgarity. So he has not mentioned the indecent nature or vulgarity that is going to shock. So A can very easily be ruled out. Then B, it was barbaric in nature and scope. Yes. C, it portrayed a culture that was in conformity with its ethos. No, it was a fight between cultures. Yeah, I mean, just to take you back to that part once again, look at this. Uproar of culture against its own essence as culture. So this in fact tells us that C is false, and D, it shows the cultural course towards a more developed cultural state. He thought that it is going to show, it shows a collapse of European culture. So D is again contradictory to what the first paragraph actually stood for. And that is why we can rule out A, C and D, and the best answer for us is going to be option B. Right? Okay, so here is the next one for you. Question number 2 on your screen. All of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except. Go ahead and give it a shot. Yes, the correct answer is indeed option B. If you look at A, C and D, all the three are true, whereas B is false. Some people thought that Adorno wants it, but that is not what Adorno really wanted. In fact, he found grave problems with the high culture as well. And that is why our correct answer is B. Let's move over to the next one. Adorno condemned popular culture because. So another reasoning question. Okay, so the correct answer is C. A is something that others accused him of. It is not what Adorno used for the popular culture. Air of superiority in matters of knowledge and taste had never been stated in the passage anywhere. And D, it was a derivative and anachronous form of art. Popular culture had never been equated with art. Right? Art could influence culture, could impede its growth, etc., but it is not a synonym of art according to the passage, and therefore D can also be ruled out. So if you've chosen C, that's absolutely a correct answer choice. Here is your next question. Question number 4. Which of the following can be correctly inferred about Adorno? What say you? क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग के सवाल बहुत पूछते हैं ना हमसे कैट में. लास्ट ईयर तो हद ही कर दी थी यार. हाँ, 66% of the questions, almost 66% of the RC questions were actually disguised critical reasoning. अच्छा है, it's good to be strong in this area. Okay, so I see D as an answer, I see a lot of C's as answers. So if you, let's start. He possessed superior knowledge of the arts. Can't say. His dislike of American popular culture was based on prejudicial norms. No, in fact, the passage says principled distrust. So there is no such negative connotation in the passage towards his attitude, and therefore we'd actually call it false. He equated well-being with freedom. True. In case you are not able to see this, look at the last paragraph of the passage and you would find it there. हाँ, should I take you back? बहुत स्लाइड पीछे ले जाना पड़ेगा. लास्ट पैराग्राफ में एक जगह पे उसने लिखा कि उसको चाहिए वेल-बीइंग, और दूसरी जगह लिखा कि ट्रू फ्रीडम नहीं मिलता. सो because his goal was well-being and his goal was freedom, true freedom, I think both of them were being used interchangeably by him. D, he was in favor of a culture that was advanced in complexity and form. Can't say. In fact, his opponents did criticize him using this argument, but the author does not agree with it. And that is why the best answer is C. Yes, Amrit, we'll definitely have those. आते और पता भी चल जाएगा तुमको. Okay. हाँ श्री, give it a while, give us some time. डबल नेगेटिव तो आज भी दिए हैं. हाँ, डबल नेगेटिव तो आज भी किए हैं, याद रखो, वो एक्सेप्ट वाला एंड ऑल. सो करेंगे धीरे धीरे, लाएंगे, सब आएगा. और वो इतनी बड़ी चीज़ है नहीं यार. वो एक बार क्वेश्चन स्टेम जब दिख जाता है, 4-5 बार दिख जाता है, बिकम वेरी इजी फॉर यू टू सॉल्व इट देयर आफ्टर. हाँ, सो द कोर एक्चुअली इज यू शुड नो हाउ टू टैकल व्हाट यू आर आस्क्ड टू टैकल. दैट इज द कोर. हाँ, लेट्स से स्ट्रेंथन करने को बोला, वीकन करने को बोला, वो करना आना चाहिए. उसको फ्रेम कैसे किया है क्वेश्चन को, उतनी बड़ी चीज नहीं है. Shall we? Okay, so if I look at this particular question, what does regression mean? Regression means return to a previous state, and that previous state is usually a state which is less developed or worse off kind of a state. Okay, so that previous state, regression is a negative word in that sense. So when we say reversion, in reversion to you move back to a previous state. Evolution takes you to the next step, not to something previous. Retrogression, stepping back, taking you to a previous state. Atavism is a feeling or a reaction that comes from the distant past of the human history. Okay, so any trait, any character, any feeling, any behavior that stems from something that used to occur long ago in the human history is known as an atavistic trait. For example, nowadays we use electricity, right? But I've seen some protests where people carry those torches, जिसको हम हिंदी में मशाल बोलते हैं ना, मशाले लेकर के जा रहे होते हैं. So वो मशाले लेकर के जाना, carrying those torches during a protest appears to be an atavistic characteristic that comes from the distant past of the human history. It's not something that is recent. So going by that, I'd say that A, C and D are all synonyms. B is not, and that is why our answer should be B. So look at what was being asked, okay? Not a synonym. We were not being asked for just a synonym. So A, C and D do pertain to that ballpark where things have gone back to an earlier state. B does not, and that is why. Okay, here is the next passage for you. Ready? So this is going to be built around economics, unlike art and culture that you dealt with in the previous passage. So let's be ready for that switch over. Here is the passage for you. And here is the last paragraph. Done? Okay, so here is your first question. Give me the main idea of the passage. Ritik, when you use cushion as a verb, it basically means soften the impact. So if I put a mattress on the floor and then jump on the floor with that mattress there, the mattress will cushion me from the blow. Okay, so which of the following represents the central idea? Absolutely correct. See, it is. We have mentioned oil prices, we have mentioned dollar, and those twin challenges right from the very first paragraph. Then the next two focused on oil, and then subsequently another couple of them focused on the strengthening of dollar and its impact on us. So yes, absolutely. Okay, here is the next question for you. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? Yes, Sri. With GK, you are turning this into a GK session for us as well. Okay. Okay, so let's start. So we know in inference based questions, we basically go ahead and determine whether something is true, false, or can't say. Let's start with A. Trade deficit is likely to decrease with a hike in crude oil prices. No, this is likely to increase, and therefore this is false. Recession in the West has only weakened the demand in the software industry. False. It has weakened the demand there, but then it has also affected some other areas. C. The gravity of India's economic problems depends upon the fluctuations in oil prices. True. D. Are they an indicator of weakening currency? So something that is an indicator is more like a symptom. It is not a cause. Whereas according to the passage, high oil prices are one of the causes. They're not an indicator. They are the reason why our currency has weakened. It's the relationship is not the other way around, and therefore D can also be labeled as false, and thus the correct answer, you are absolutely right, is going to be C. Okay, here is the next one. इसमें मैंने थोड़ी सी शरारत की है. I have created two close answer choices, added a bit of vagueness. Let us see if you can deal with this. Okay, Agrima, you've set the ball rolling. Let's see what others say. So it's amazing to see that you've definitely managed to rule out C and D. Is A true? RBI's measures cannot stop the decline of the rupee against the dollar. The passage mentions that RBI's measures can only temporarily stop it, which means that they'll not really be able to go permanent, and therefore B is definitely true. We don't even have to worry about a qualifier, and that is why B is the right answer. Man, I think I should have worked harder. मेरे को लगा मैंने A से थोड़ा confusion create किया. तुम लोग तो इससे बच के निकल आए. मेरे अंदर का सेडिस्ट अच्छा नहीं फील कर रहा है. I'll work harder in the next passage. Okay, what about this? हाँ भाई श्री, here is the double negative for you. The sort of a double negative, the way we put it. Are we sure, Ronaldo? Are we sure? Can never be reversed. Do we have enough data to back that? So see, in inference-based questions, I'm generally very, very wary, very cautious of those answers that use words like all, never, only. These are extreme options. Can they be the right answer? Yes, they can be, but they require really strong premises, and we may not find those really strong premises in the passages normally. So be very wary of never, be very wary of only. Right, both of these can in fact in this case be ruled out. So far, so in the case of B, so far we have not been able to reverse it, but then what if in future the high oil prices go back and Fed follows a loose monetary policy? In these cases, these can be reversed. You never know, and that is why B is can't say, probably false. C is once again false, because we know that there are other factors as well that are contributing to this conundrum, as we say. So B and C are gone. That leaves you with A and D. A says the rupee is facing the heat from international markets as well. Now, if you look at the first paragraph, and we haven't gone that back even once, so let's go back. Let's just look at the relevant part. Here you go. So see this? I think we'd also find it elsewhere. See? So this is the part that actually backs up option A. So A is true. Now D says foreign investors are unlikely to put more pressure on the rupee. Let me once again take you back to the passage. Look at the last sentence. If foreign portfolio investors withdraw, then there will be further pressure. So is there a possibility that they can put more pressure on the rupee? Yes. So to say they are unlikely to put more pressure will not be true, right? And that is why our answer here should be option A over option D. Okay, so I hope that helps, Ishank. And here is one last question. The next question is the kind of question that will help us more in exams like the ZAT or the IIFT. Okay, these are the exams where these kind of things are asked. It's not obviously very frequent in the CAT. So here it is. Two blanks, you need to choose the right bit for the blanks. Ritik, when it comes to inference based questions, you should definitely have some reasons to back them up, right? You'd find some reasons or premises, some basis to arrive at those conclusions. Yes, without that obviously you cannot solve these questions. So remember all these figures of speech: analogy, idiom, personification, phrase. Idiom is not exactly a figure of speech, but analogy and personification are. So analogy is where we compare two things for certain characteristics. Right? So bear the brunt. No two things are being compared. So it is definitely not an analogy. So option A is gone. Is it an idiom? Maybe. Is it a personification? Personification is where we treat an inanimate object, a non-living object, as a person. Right? When you look at the moon and say Chanda Mama, when you look at the trees and say, oh, these trees are dancing in the wind, you're treating those trees as persons. Trees don't dance, persons do. So is there any personification in bear the brunt? No. So essentially leaves you with B and D. Is it an idiom? Is it a phrase? Idiom is a set of words which are not interpreted literally. Okay, so bear the brunt is more or less literal, but let's look at the second half, maybe that will help. So in B it says to demonstrate courage under difficult circumstances. That's not what bear the brunt means. But D, to suffer most as a result of a problem or a difficult situation. Well, that is definitely closer to the actual meaning. So I'd actually go with D. And therefore we did not even have to look closely into, is it an idiom, is it just a phrase, whatever. So D is going to be our best answer. So when it comes to exams like ZAT and IFT, you know that these are the kind of things that get asked, and therefore you need to be ready for those. So now that I've taken care of the exam component, let's focus on our mind, and here is a food for thought. Does this sound odd to you? In fact, look back at your life. All the tough times that you've gone through, all the accidents that have happened, those are the kind of things that have contributed heavily to the memories that you have. हाँ, होता है यार, दोस्तों के साथ जब भी बैठते हैं ना तो बहुत बार उन चीज़ों की बात कर रहे होते हैं कि अरे ध्यान है जब वहाँ गए थे कितना बुरा हुआ था, हाँ अरे वो जब लद्दाख जा रहे थे बाइक पे, ध्यान है वो एक जगह पे जब बारिश शुरू हो गई थी और जगह नहीं मिली, 10 किलोमीटर बाद जा कर के कहीं एक चाय वाला मिला जिसके पास बैठे, दैट्स मेमोरी. So whenever you're going through those tough times and making mistakes and learning from them, it's okay. You are actually creating memories, and not only that, you are going to become more memorable for others. Right? So for more practice, Sri, there can be different ways of giving a meaning, no? So the first meaning that you've looked up is from Oxford, right? If you go to Cambridge Dictionary or Longman Dictionary, you'd find the same meaning given in different ways. So